What's going on? My name is Mike, the host of Politrickkks As Usual podcast. On my next episode, I sit down with Ice the Barber, owner of Politrickkks Barbershop in Norwalk, Connecticut. And we discuss his journey of barbering from his beginning as a barber in a shop to now owning a barbershop, one of the hottest barbershops in Norwalk, Connecticut. We talk about his journey, his obstacles, what brought him there, and just the importance of his mentorship and what he means to the community. So make sure that you guys tune into our podcast, you subscribe, you hit the like button, you tell a friend to tell a friend.
Welcome to another episode of the Politrickkks As Usual podcast. I'm here with my boy Ice and Norwalk Politrickkks. And we're going to talk about everything about your start, where you started cutting hair at, when you started, what drove you to cut hair, because you obviously need a profession out of this. You have your own shop now. So let's talk about where you started, bro.
So I started doing house calls. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I didn't really have a job. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do in my life. And I remember my cousin kept bugging me about cutting his hair.
Right. How old were you?
I was probably fresh out of high school. I want to say 17, 18 around that time.
Right.
And he kept bugging me. So that's when I said, you know what? I had my last dollars in my pocket. I walked down to Two Brothers. It's a hair supply store.
Mm-hmm. They're still there, right?
They still there. I don't know if they still have the same name.
Oh, right.
But I bought some clippers, and then afterwards I cut his hair. And I fucked him up bad, bro.
Who'd you cut?
My cousin Ken Banks. I fucked him bad. He had scabs everywhere.
Oh, wow.
But what's so beautiful about him is that he believed in me so much. Mm-hmm. It's the very next day he had his friend come over the house,
right.
And I cut his hair again. And his friend bought another friend.
So you got more clientele, even though you jacked them up, you still got more clients.
Yo, bro, yeah, because it's his little cousin. He's just happy that my cousin knows how to cut hair. You know what I'm saying?
That's dope.
And then from there, at that, soon I finished, I had no job at the time. So soon I finished, YouTube just probably started picking up, and I found this guy on YouTube named Ice the Barber, and I studied every single video of his. And then every time I had a chance, I just kept practicing, getting better and better how to sharpen my clippers. And then from there, that's when Sean Evans picked me up. Matter of fact, before Sean Evans picked me up, I was cutting hair at Mr. B's on West Main Street. He's on West Main Street.
Oh, I know you cut at Mr. B's.
Yeah, I was only working there 3 months. I was super trash, bro. 3 months. I got there 3 months.
This when you was on the corner, on the corner by the store?
Corner. Mr. B. This is, matter of fact, Mr. B's left. And they left the under Dudley.
Yeah. Oh, Dudley's to kill me, bro.
Oh, nah, don't say that.
Dudley was good at first, and then Dudley started killing me, bro.
That boy, he cut, bro. They been there for years. So I worked over there for 3 months. I didn't know how to fade. Mm. I was good at shape-ups. I was good at doing tapers. But when it came to skin fades, I wasn't really good at it at all.
So what you was doing, avoiding them?
No. They sent it to me.
Okay.
But I was not, I knew in my mind how to get better at this. So I kept doing it. And it took me probably an hour to do one skin fade.
Wow.
And I had the wrong blade on the clipper. Mm. The blade was keep getting caught in people's hair follicles. So as I was cutting hair, you were like, ow, ow.
Oh, wow.
So then I quit. I was still going to hair school at this time. Mm-hmm. So then I quit. Then I was
Which hair school did you go to?
Leon's.
Oh, okay.
It's in Bridgeport.
Okay.
So then I quit, and then eventually I kept doing the house calls.
Mm. But hold on, let's talk a little bit about hair school because,
right.
Especially today with the internet, people just start cutting hair or whatever. What type of things do you learn in hair school, and why would it be, beneficial to go to hair school to cut hair as opposed to just starting to cut hair?
So I'm gonna keep it true. I'm gonna keep it honest, true, right? Hair school is only gonna teach you terms.
Right.
Medical terms or what you want to do here. Did hair school actually teach me how to become a barber? No. I'm going to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. Now, I could talk to, say if you're a barber and a client's in the chair, I could talk to you in a certain language that the client will never understand. What they're talking about. So, because we're talking about hair cosmetology terms.
Right.
So when it comes to being punctual,
right.
When it comes to understanding the color wheel,
right.
When it comes to talking about disinfectant,
Right. Well, that's important though.
That's definitely important when it comes to like understanding barber language, cosmetology language. Connecticut, I think they have one barber school in Connecticut, but outside of that, you go and get a cosmetology license. You're not going to get a barber license. My license don't say barber, it says cosmetology.
Okay.
I did 80% female here at school. And I only did 20% guys hair.
Oh, word.
You see what I'm saying? So I really learned how to cut hair, watching YouTube videos, and working under somebody. You see what I'm saying?
Right. So what made you cut hair though? Like, all the things that you could have chosen.
At that time, I was trying to figure out what I want to do in my life. And I didn't think, I was straight at it. Anything.
Right.
I want to be honest. I didn't have great grades, this and that and third, and I feel like everybody in my neighborhood had talents. You had the neighborhood hand-to-hand superstar.
Right.
You had the rapper.
Right.
You had the ball players.
Right.
You had the kids that's knew where it was going to go at an early age. I was just winging. You see what I'm saying? So when I sat down and really said to myself, what I want to do, and it came across to me by accident when I started cutting my cousin's hair, then I said, I kind of like this. And then I just kept receiving it and then, pursuing it. And like I said, after, when I left Mr. B's and I was still doing house call, then Sean found it. And then when I started working at Sean's shop, and I'll never forget it. I walked over there and he disrespected me. He disrespected me in a nice way. Bro, cut my hair. I walked over there with Rider Fitness.
Okay,
and he was like, we should cut here in the shop.
He was doing great, by the way. Shout out to Rider Fitness. He's doing amazing. 100%. Super proud. That's dope, man. You're doing dope work.
Definitely happy
for sure.
So when I walked over there, he was like, Sean, this is Ice. Ice is Sean. Cut my hair. He was like, Sean, cut my hair. I gave him a skin fade. He asked for a skin fade.
Did he have a ball in his name?
Nah. So he had a shine up top. Yeah. But he hit it because he kept doing the bougie fade before the bougie fade. So I gave him a skin fade, and he looked at it in the mirror. He's like, it's all right. I give this a 7.5, 8. All my shit, man. I said, damn, man, I don't got the job. But eventually he told me, he's like, you could work here. And I said, y'all come back in 2 weeks. He said, why 2 weeks? You can start tomorrow. And I told him straight off, I said, I'm nervous. So he took his time and he noticed I didn't know how to fade.
Right.
So he showed me how to fade. Everybody say he was garbage, but I feel like he was a fade god. You know what I'm saying? And he gave me a lot of pointers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I remember Sean Money came home, and Sean Money had a box full of books. And this is developing my brain.
You talking about Sean Money, the basketball player?
Yeah.
Shout out, Earl. That's my guy. Yeah. Shout out Sean Money.
So I ain't gonna lie, I'm fresh off the Porsche at this time.
Yeah.
I'm fresh off the Porsche. I'm from the West Side.
Right.
I'm from top of the hill. But I didn't know everybody from the West Side.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But what's so funny, one of my friends said, Iceman uses the introducing type of guy. like, let me introduce you to my boy Ice. So everybody introduced me to everybody. Sean came home with his books. Sean went into his box and said, Ice, I think you should read this book. It was a book by Hill Harper, Alerted to My Little Bro. And then I took that book, I read that book, and he developed my mind. And me and Sean had a lot of one-on-one conversations about, things he wish he could have changed his life, or where he wanted, if I was in your shoes, where your life should go and the direction it should go.
Yeah.
When a certain situation happened in our shop at Richmond Hill, I had to make a decision for myself. I said, I could stay here. And I was thinking, if I stay here, I will only reach this level.
Right.
If I leave here, because you remember, these books he got me reading now, expanding my mind. I started thinking different. Then I asked Sean, hey, who owned the shop before you?
Yeah.
And he told me Ken.
Yeah.
So
Shout out Ken too, that's my brother. Shout out Ken too, that's my barber.
Yeah. So I went to go check Ken out. And I sat down and had 3 or 4 conversations with him.
Yeah.
And he told me, he was like, yo, listen, no disrespect to nobody, but he said, you can continue working there. You're going to continue driving in your 1992 Honda Accord.
Right.
Or you want to drive a Porsche like me.
That sound like Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sound like Ken.
You know, and this little voice like, you know, Iceman, you know, you got to stop playing games, you know?
Yeah, that sound like Ken.
I remember I was going to the gym at 6 a.m. He was like, yo, Iceman, you see? You playing games. I just did 6 heads. You know what I'm saying? So
we still talk like that.
Yep. So he made a phone call and got me at Mike Valentine at the shop. And at that time,
I think that's when I met you.
Yes, that's when you met me.
That's when I met you.
It was called Total Image.
Yeah.
And listen, Sean taught me how to be wise in the books. And there are a lot of great one-on-one conversations.
Right.
And that shop showed me a lot of things that, you know, like the environment. And I was like, damn, man, you know, I could continue being like this.
Right.
And I can end up like this.
Right.
Or I could listen to him and figure it out. And once I met Mike showed me business.
Yeah. Mike. One thing about Mike know business. I'm still going to interview Mike too. I tried to interview Mike.
Yes.
Just talk about, you know, his hair school and his journey too, because Mike, you know, Mike was like the only black barbershop left for a long time. I mean, he's still around. He was like the only guy for a minute. Yeah. And so Mike got a wild story. Mike a great story.
I don't even know this much.
Yeah, Mike got like a great story. So I'm definitely going to chat with Mike. Yeah, that's when I met you.
I would love when you interview him. I'm going to definitely watch that because I want to know the story before he decided to actually become a barber and go with that. Because I'm not going to lie to you, Mike. When Mike taught me business and he showed me his house, he showed me he got this, that, and I'm like, damn, this is possible.
Yeah, Mike got it.
I wasn't thinking it's possible.
Right.
So, but when I got to his shop, you know how many people came up to me and said, Ice, I couldn't wait till you come here. I wanted to go see you. But I just didn't want to go see why you was over here.
Right. That shop you was at in the beginning. That shop was a little wild because I was in the hood. Like,
it wasn't a hood?
And a lot of the hood dudes like went there. So it was like,
but I'm not going to knock on it.
Yeah. No, for sure.
It birthed me.
No, for sure. I'm from that. You know what I'm saying?
So, you're from that.
You know what I'm saying? So,
but it was a different environment.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
Pause. It turned me on. You know, I'm fresh off the Porsche. I'm like, I'm getting dressed. My mom's like, where you going? I'm going to work.
Yeah, it's lit.
It's lit over here.
It was lit over there.
Yeah. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Yo, listen, I love every minute over there. But it came to a point I was like,
right,
this is the cap.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So when I met Mike, he introduced me to business. He showed me he didn't play no games. The blueprint cost this much.
Yeah, Mike don't play about his money.
Saturday you don't have it. You put points on that.
Mike don't play about
only this. And then, I remember once I needed me, like, not dirty. I tried to, like, you know, I'm about to give him a little bit of money this week. I know I got it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm just going to give him this.
No.
Yo, baby boy sat there and watched me cut 4 or 5 heads. He said, Ice, what's up? And that day, I went home, I said, I'm never going to let him play me like that again.
Word.
And that's why I said, soon I made his money on Monday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday on me. Then I started paying him on Monday. So here's your money. Boom. I'm out. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
Now, working for Mike, it made me be on point. Because I know he don't play no games.
Yeah.
And he's watching me. And I used to get mad, like, why are you watching me like this?
Right.
But I didn't know, being an owner, you have to watch everything that goes in the shop. I'm thinking that from a
And you was hot over there, though. Like, I remember when you was in there, and I, like I said, when you was cutting my hair, before everybody kept saying we looked alike, which we don't.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't.
Right. But when
you came to me and said that, I said, I'm like, you like me? Okay. You're not looked at you. I said, don't look at you. But you know what I'm saying? It's a light skin thing.
It gotta be.
Yeah.
But you like, everybody was talking about you over there. And so, when you got that type of traffic, I knew like that day. And it's so funny because I think eventually I was people Carl too, who did the book.
Yes.
But I remember like even watching him right now and just watching his expansion.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in that barbershop. I think you was cutting them. Yeah. And he was talking about releasing that book. Yeah. That 365 book. And just to see from that point on and where you was at then, also where he was at then, where we all were at then, to see everybody now is really
I sit down and think about that. I sit down and think about that, like, like a lot of. So cutting hair is not only giving people a service, you're actually building.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So you might you cutting all types of people. You might cut a $50,000 guy. You might cut a dude on the got no raps.
You're the therapist, bro.
Yeah, for sure. You might cut a millionaire. I remember I cut Booker T one time. I didn't even know I was cutting Booker T.
Booker T, the
wrestling, bro.
WWE is right.
And he was talking about what he was talking about. I ain't gonna talk about what he was talking about. I kept this conversation in my mind. I'm like, yo, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like, yo, you have a lot of great conversations.
Right.
But there's certain conversations you have in the chair.
Right.
You leave the shop, you're like, erase that from your memory.
Right.
And there's some conversation you have,
you keep.
Yo, I'm going to keep that because that was so much wisdom.
For sure.
You see what I'm saying?
For sure.
At the end of the day, like, yo, working over there taught me that. And listen, I feel like, I'm going to keep you honest with you. I feel like my craft was at a level of 8.
Back then?
Back then.
Word.
What made me hot was the internet.
Okay.
What I was doing back then was I printed out coupons.
Yeah, you was always on it, yo. You always was on it, yeah, for sure.
And I watched a docuseries about how Nautica came across how Nautica had those boosters was robbing stores and getting polos and selling it in the urban community.
Okay, yeah.
Nautica couldn't keep up with that.
Right.
So Nautica hired a U-Haul truck, rented a U-Haul truck, and put all their clothes in a U-Haul truck and dumped it in the urban community. So everybody started wearing their clothes.
Yeah, smart. I give away a lot of free clothes on my brand now, too. I give away a lot of free stuff.
Right. So what I did, if you get a haircut, you get a free shirt.
Smart.
You see what I'm saying?
People love free stuff.
Free stuff all the time.
You get somebody a free chapstick, they mad happy. Like,
yo,
just love free things.
Yep. And then once a year, I always gave a free keychain, a free shirt, something. And I remember it was breast cancer. I made a breast cancer awareness shirt.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I'm saying? I was just giving that for free.
Right.
And that's what made me hot. I felt like the coupons. And then I told people, yo, if you bring 2 people with you, I'll give you free cut.
Right. You ain't never told me that because I'd have brought you to.
Man, the offer's still on the table.
I'll bring you to.
You feel me? And I feel like you have to, in this world that we live in, you have to give something to get something.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
That's one thing I always prided myself on through my whole life. I remember just meeting so many people. And like, I would tell everyone, yo, I'm a people collector. Like, I'm like, yo, I don't know when I'm gonna need them, but I'm gonna need them.
Right. 100%.
And I always really nourish relationships and not burn bridges because you just never know, especially today. Like now, all that is really bearing fruit for me.
Yeah.
Because people like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, sent them business or whatever I was doing with them. I just always watered relationships. So that's important, is to take care of your people. You know what I mean?
People collecting is crazy.
I always said that. I'm like, yo, I don't know what I'm keeping them for.
I respect that. I say in term of, I'm going to accept to be used and use the other person at the same time.
So the law of reciprocity.
Yeah.
That's everything.
Yeah.
I don't never, come somewhere and don't leave something. Like everywhere I go, bro, I leave something, whether it's some advice or whether it's something. I spent some money with you, something. I left something there, you know? And that's every exchange should be mutual. If it's not mutual, it ain't right. I tell my friends, use me, but don't abuse me. Like,
100%.
we could use each other. That's okay. We're here to be used, right? But don't like
abuse me.
Don't just take. You got to put it into the pot, you know?
And once I feel like I'm being abused, I'm going to fade away.
Yeah, I ain't with it. And I ain't stupid. And I ain't dumb.
I ain't gonna lie, man. I was used a lot in my life.
Of course, but being used teaches you boundaries. It teaches you how to not be used ever again. You got to be used to like not be used.
Yeah, 100%. You got to go through.
You got it. So it's cool because you felt it. You said, yeah, you know what? I ain't with that, and you was able to draw a line.
Yeah, 100%. And
So-
then people, that's a different conversation. But
Yeah. We can have. I'm sure you and I can have a ton of conversations.
we could be for 20 hours.
I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
But what about? So let's talk about like just the transition though from
Stanford.
cutting hair to opening your own shop. Like, what was that decision like? You know, what were you feeling before you decided? Like, no, you was cutting hair in a shop and you was looking around and you was thinking, "Yo, I'm out of here," or whatever.
It was frustration.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like, I always wanted to own something, but I just didn't know how to. Because I want to say there's certain people will give you the jewels,
Right.
and certain people don't want to give you the jewels.
Right.
And it's okay if you don't want to give me the jewels,
Right.
because I'm going to seek the jewels anyway.
Right.
So I'm going to figure it out. I'm one of those guys that I'm always going to hang out with the people that's older than me. I never want to hang out with the crowd.
Right.
With my age group.
Right.
I always want to hang out with the age group older than me because I feel like they have wisdom, more wisdom than I do.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I started Googling how much a barbershop costs. So Google is going to give you a broad answer, $50,000.
Right.
So now my mind was like, you know what? I need to save $50,000.
Right.
And after Mike sold the shop, someone else took over the shop.
Some Spanish dudes.
Alex.
Yeah, Alex. Yeah.
Alex, my guy. Alex is a great owner. Alex is a good friend. I text him all the time.
Yeah.
But I want to say the people we had hired in the shop.
Right.
I feel like, secretly they wasn't for me.
Right.
But I was for them, that wasn't for me.
Right.
I walked to work. You remember, I was the only, outside of me and John, everybody was a Spanish speaking.
Right.
I love my Spanish people, but I feel like, in that shop they teamed up for themselves.
Of course.
It was like, you know what, we're going to work for ourselves. And at this time I was not doing appointments.
Right.
But there was short-stopping. Like say, yo, I'm waiting for you. I talk to you like, yo, Mike, I'm coming.
Yeah.
And then after they were like, yo, Ice ain't coming to work today.
Right. Yeah. They do stuff like that too.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Then you be in someone else's chair.
Yeah.
So I always been humble. I be like, you know what? My mindset was like, I fish all the time. Meaning, like, you know what? That's not my fish. I'm gonna go pass out and get another fish. So whatever. So that's when I said that frustrated me, but that birthed me.
Right.
So that's when I say, you know what? I'm gonna stay quiet. I'm gonna come into work every day, say hi to everybody, and say bye to everybody.
Right.
And then from there, I just sat down, stacked my chips, and I started watching more and more motivational speaking videos. Just building my mind, building my character.
I remember sitting in Mike's shop telling you need your shop though. I remember then. I remember even back then, I'm sitting there, I'm seeing your flow, I'm looking around. I'm like, bro, you can get your own shop right now.
You seen something in me I didn't see myself.
I knew that. I knew then. I'm like, yo, bro. I'm like, yo, you need your own shop. He was like, yeah, I know. Eventually, it's coming. I'm like, yo, bro.
Humble.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, you need your own. You the wave.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't. When you have a gift and you gift it, you don't know it sometimes. Like, people things I be doing sometimes. People will tell me. To me, it's regular, it's normal, but they watching you, and so somebody watching outside of you and seeing how you moving, and it's like, I see that you in it. It's like you can't really tell sometimes.
So,
you know what I mean?
I was watching a lot of Napoleon Hill at that time.
Napoleon Hill got a lot of good stuff.
I never read his book, but I watched a lot of it.
Manly P. Hall got a lot of good stuff too, bro. A lot of good books.
And he said, always mimic somebody you want to be.
Right.
Or become. And I mimicked a lot of people.
Right.
So then people will look at you like, oh, you trying to be better. Nah, I'm not trying to be better than you. Fuck that. Yeah, I'm trying to be better than you.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck.
You can't even tell me that type of stuff, because like better than what? Like, of course I'm trying to be better than everybody.
But it's not you trying to be
even better, because I don't even.
But it's just like you want to be better. I'm not your competition.
Right,
I'm my own competition.
I don't compare myself to nobody anyway.
So in my mind, I was just put in my mind, these are the goals I want,
right?
And I see it.
Right.
I see it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a big believer of the quantum realm, bro.
Oh, for sure. See, now you start something like that, you're not gonna make dinner, man.
Now, my
you ain't gonna make dinner.
So, yo, that right there, you can do research on quantum realm.
I already know.
So, like, once I got in that, bro, I'm tapped in. You can't stop me from doing nothing, bro.
Nah,
you know what I'm saying? So,
for sure.
So, with that happened, and that's when I said, yo, boom. I moved to Norwalk. Once I moved to Norwalk, I started walking around. Nothing was developing.
Right.
Nothing. And after I was like, damn, you think this is the move? Now I'm having anxiety. Now, once I'm having anxiety, is an indication of something I'm supposed to be doing.
Funny, not to stop you, but that happened the night before I released these clothes.
Yeah.
I had mad anxiety. Like, I was nervous. And I remember saying to myself, like, what is this? Like, what are you feeling? And it just felt like, it felt so big. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I was almost scared of the magnitude of what it could be. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that anxiety you talking about, I felt that same anxiety. And that's what I knew, like, I'm on to something. I'm like, this is going to be something. And, here I am 3 years later and it's starting to materialize into something. You know what I mean?
And then from there, I had some lower clientele and they introduced me to Fresh. I didn't even know who Fresh was. That's my business partner.
Okay.
And then one day I was walking, I seen him in the shop. I walked in there, I said, yo, I want to shape up. And he said, yo, you don't need no shape up, you Ice. I said, okay, he knows who I am. Me and him sat down and built. And I said, yo, listen, either you're going to work for me or you're going to be my business partner.
Right.
It's those two options.
Right.
And
you told him, get down, lay down.
Yeah, not way. But then we built up and then we did it. We made it happen. But then when I left, though.
You left what?
Stanford.
Okay, yeah.
So when I left Stanford, before I left Stanford, Alex sold the shop.
Yeah.
Again. Well, first Mike sold it, then Alex sold it.
Yeah. Now
I didn't realize I've been working for 8 years at this time.
Wow.
8 years.
Billy got it now. Because my studio is upstairs from there.
Where?
Yeah, my studio's right upstairs.
So they got it. And I would probably stay there for like 2 months. And I kept quiet.
Yeah.
Well, as we was building here, we came through a hiccup.
Okay.
A contractor took our money and left.
Oh, wow.
So I said, damn, at that time, I looked, there was a contractor fixing a shop. So I said, yo, bro, you think you go fix this for me?
Right.
He finished fixing it, doubled back and told everybody over there, yo, he about to open up a shop.
Oh, wow.
So everybody knows secret is out.
Right.
So I want to say Billy and Alex. That's Alex's brother, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Billy, they good people.
Right.
But at that time, I said, yo, that birthed more motivation for me out of there.
Right.
And then once I got here, I was scared. I was nervous. And then, I said to myself, let's get back to ground zero. Pump them cars, pump the t-shirts, and then everything was a success. And then my business partner came to me like, yo, I've never seen somebody blow up like how you blow from another town coming over here.
Word.
And I told him, I said, yo, one thing you gotta understand about me, I have the ambition out this world.
Word.
Whatever I put my mind to, I'm gonna do.
Word.
Yeah.
Commitment. That's the commitment.
I never had that. I had a week follow-through.
Yeah.
But Sean told me like, yo,
bro, a winner. The only difference between a winner and a loser is the level of commitment, bro.
Yeah.
If I decide to do anything and I make my mind up, I'm gonna stick with it no matter what. I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
And that's a law that's working. That's faith. That's a spiritual law that's working. But if you believe it enough and you work through it and you just, when obstacles come, instead of crying, just figure them out, keep going, and it works.